you. Bismillah. I'd like to start with the recitation of Quran. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. أنا ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين. Welcome everybody to session of Witnessing Perfection, which is hosted by Aliya B. I think without much further ado, I'll just like to hand over to you with this one.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Yes, this evening's, today's session is an exploration and understanding of witnessing perfection. This is a term that we use often, but tonight we are going to explore its meaning, definition, and unpack the way it's used for a deeper understanding. All of this, of course, is based on Shaykh Fadhlalla's book, Witnessing Perfection. Now, what do we mean by witnessing perfection? To witness, as against ordinary seeing, is the ability to remain present with what is, without judging and interpreting what we're seeing. When we stop judgment and begin witnessing, we begin to see differently. The world before us does not change. What changes is the way we see, the way we see. So witnessing points to a deeper order of perception, one that shifts from appearances to reality. Now, what do we mean by that? The Quran reminds us in Surah 15, Ayah 85, we did not create the heavens and the earth and what is between them except in truth, in the Arabic, bil haq. So the word haq, reality or the real one, is what we understand by our use of God. We will come across God referred to in many terms, the one reality, bil haq, the supreme ultimate intelligence. All of these terms refer to what we refer to as God. Surah 32, Ayah 7 says, and it is God who has perfected everything that he created. So since all of creation came into manifestation, existence by haq, by truth, by God, everything contains the essence of God. And that is the focus of our exploration tonight, to understand that the divine presence is in every form, every solid object, every subtle object that we have exists around us in our lifetime. So if creation is brought forth in truth, then nothing within it is outside of that truth. What appears as broken or incomplete or imperfect may conceal an order which is not yet seen. What is resisted or denied by what we see may actually hold a meaning which we have not yet learned to perceive or not yet understood. So what appears imperfect is not outside of perfection, of the one reality. It's not outside of God, God's essence. It is included within it. At first, this may be difficult for us to accept. We see pain, chaos, conflict, and we feel the pain and the hardship and the suffering. So it is in the seeing of it that we will explore how it is to see beyond the form, beyond the appearance, to the reality or the divine order, the divine mercy of God underlying what we see in the outer world. The Quran reminds us again in Surah 67, Ayah 3, to look again. You will never see any imperfection in the creation of the most compassionate Allah. So look again. Do you see any flaws? To witness perfection does not mean to approve of what appears to be broken or imperfect. We do not approve everything. It means that nothing is beyond or outside of the divine order or the divine presence. Now we want to look at, so witnessing, to summarize, witnessing is the ability to stand in the moment before what it is we are seeing or experiencing without judgment or interpretation. Normally, we tend to judge, we tend to interpret, we tend to formulate through our own filter of our principles, our prejudices, what we prefer, good or bad, helpful or unhelpful, friend or foe. We tend to label things, interpret things that we see without seeing it as they actually are. So, how do we see the perfection underlying what appears to be broken or imperfect? We often imagine, when we hear the word perfection, we often imagine, we think of it as something flawless, something without flaw, or as beauty without blemish, or goodness without pain or hardship. But in the Quranic teaching, perfection is understood as something much, much deeper. Perfection is the complete expression of God, of the one reality, as it unfolds into creation, whether or not it appears so to us. It may appear to be imperfect, but what we're being told by the Quran, that everything is in perfection. And this is how we can learn to witness and to see it. So when we consider the countless conditions that occur in any event, we begin to see that it could not have happened other than the way it did. We'll come back to this in some detail in a moment. For example, we can look at an earthquake in Indonesia. At first, we see people dying, we see loss, tragedy with property being destroyed, people being hurt, everything in turmoil and chaos and difficulty. But if we look at the causal link, all the countless conditions that led up to the event, for example, we'll see that the outcome could not have happened in any other way, considering all the steps leading up to it. For example, on the natural level, the tectonic plates under the earth, the fault lines that run through the country of Indonesia, the pressure and the energy that's imposed upon the fault lines. And then there's the human element. For example, the mining of corporations who continue to go underground, disturbing the structure that held up the land, the blasting of explosives, the rocks being dislodged. All of these natural human causal events led up to the earthquake, which could not have happened in any other way. This is not fatalistic. It's looking with our intelligence, with our inner eye and our heart, seeing that all of these events contribute toward what happened in the outcome. It doesn't mean we don't suffer loss, we don't feel badly, that we hurt when we see other human beings undergoing the tragedy. That's all part of the unfolding of the divine order. We don't know the outcome. We don't know maybe the iman or the trust in something good that might come out of it, even if at the moment the people are suffering their loss and difficulty. For example, we see this in places like Gaza and elsewhere, where deep inhumanity has drawn out of the human being extraordinary trust and faith in the divine. This is not spiritual escapism where we're saying, all right, it's all perfect, so what can we do about it? No, we must act. Out of compassion, we must do what we can to restore order, to alleviate pain and difficulty, and to correct injustices. However, if we are able to see the perfection underlying it, it gives us a greater clarity and correctness and humanity in the way we bring our contribution, participation, the role we play in misfortune. Without seeing perfection, we may end up with hatred, negativity, vilifying a whole ethnic group of people for the behavior of a handful. So witnessing perfection liberates us from the narrow unseeing of the complete divine order that's being revealed. So again, perfection is not the absence of imperfection. The broken world, the difficulties, the challenges are all there, but it is recognizing that nothing, not even that, is outside of the wisdom, the mercy, and the creative unfolding of the divine order in this world. And it is also to perceive that irrespective of what we're seeing, the reality of the challenges outwardly, that there is the wisdom and mercy of the divine presence that encompasses everything. So there is nothing without the light of the divine on it. And as we begin to see with what is called the eye of the heart, but with this higher vision of seeing the reality beyond the appearance of the form of what's before us, that begins to open a threshold for us to relate to confirm the iman, the faith we have that there is a divine intelligence beyond and within all events that are occurring in life. So it's actually enlarging our vision of the world, of the divine, and even who we are. As I've said, with that clarity of a wider or a transcendent vision, we make better choices in the way that we respond to participate in alleviating the difficulties that we see outwardly. I want now to define the difference between pain and suffering, because these are words often used in spiritual conversation. Pain is a physical experience. in what we can call the outer experience of life. Suffering is the inner experience of pain. It's the psychological inner telling of stories around the pain that allows us to suffer and carry on the pain even long after it's been treated and healed. So there is a great difference between pain and suffering that can help us in the way we use language and the way we understand it. The way we understand it. The Quran teaches us two ways of seeing. So normally we see with what we call ordinary sight, the physical eye, one of the five senses. And that perceptual organ of ordinary seeing sees the form of things in existence. But you can still see perfection that way by looking at the example we gave of the earthquake in Indonesia. If we take any difficulty out there, any conflict, any chaos, even anything beautiful, if we look at if we trace it backwards and look at what contributed, all the different human and natural and environmental, cultural, traditional, other people's opinions, all that contributed toward the moment that we're looking at right now with our ordinary sight, we would see that considering the linkage of the cause and effect, the outcome could not have been other than what it is. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That looking at it in this way is also seeing things as they are, because we have we still feel the pain and emotionality. We're human. You can't deny that. But we begin to see with a broader knowledge that what happened actually was the outcome of all of these contributing factors. The second way that the Quran tells us we are able to see is to witness, is to be shahid. It's called shahada, to witness without your judgment, interpreting things and attributing a conclusion, a meaning to what you are seeing or experiencing. So often we see something, or we know we're going to see something, and we've already made up our judgment, made up our minds. It's something that we don't agree with, or we prefer not to find acceptable. This is what the Quran is warning us against. So we have these two ways of witnessing, and the majority of people, is just the way human nature emerges in us, is prone toward witnessing with our ordinary seeing, towards seeing with our ordinary perception, so we can learn to witness. And a good practice for that is to ask ourselves, when we feel an immediate judgment about something, for example, we see what might be going on either with our country's president or maybe a conflict zone in the Middle East. And even before we look at the images in the news, we've made up our mind that those people are committing genocide, or it's a Holocaust situation or something difficult. And so we really do not see beyond the form. A good practice then is to ask yourself, how have these prejudices or preferences, let's use the word, things I prefer, either because of my belief system, my religion, my culture, how does holding on to these preferences or principles, how does it help my life? Has it opened me up to being more aware and knowledgeable and connected to humanity and to even entering deeper into my faith system? Or does it in some way present a barrier? And when we begin to reflect, it's actually self-knowledge. It's teaching us we're looking at who we are. And if we decide, no, I'm against injustice, that's good. I'm against crime, that's good. I'm against hurting innocent people. All of that is fully acceptable. But if I decide to blanket paintbrush a whole country or a whole generation or a whole group of people with a certain attitude, then I limit my ability to really be true to my faith system, because we are encouraged to be in tawhid, to be in unity, to remove the filters that keep us isolated and separate. So that is a very powerful practice. Another way to witness perfection is to have quiet moments where images might come up in your mind, or memories or thoughts. And we can ask ourselves, did that do anything to improve my life, improve my understanding of being alive in the world as an agent of light? Or was it something that in some way narrowed me? Now, it doesn't mean you can't have principles. No, you must. And it doesn't mean you can't have preferences. Of course we do. We're human. All the Quran and these teachings are showing us is that you have your belief, but your knowledge of who you are in this world and the way you see the world can be opened up to a large unitive perspective that is lit by the light of the divine presence. And seeing that does not excuse you from acting against hardship and pain and difficulty. We must act with compassion, do our part in bringing about justice and healing. So seeing perfection does not exclude you from participating in the life in front of us, in form, in existence. There are individuals who can actually see the light coming through the form, the divine light. We are given tools for the eye of the heart to be able to refine all the filters, to let go of them. And so with the eye of the heart, we can, even looking at conflagration, earthquakes, horrible images, we know that there is a divine order unfolding within it. And that, quote, witnessing is much more of a knowing. You know it, and you know it in your gut and your bone. It's not just intellectual. You really know it. And that's the eye of the heart that is seeing. So when in the book Witnessing Perfection, when we are told that it is with the lens of the soul that you see perfection. That's exactly what is meant by the eye of the heart, because the soul we recognize resides in the heart. So seeing with the lens of the soul is seeing with the eye of the heart, and that can be polished in many ways that most of you know. Most of us, we know that through our practices of dhikr, sitting quietly in stillness, and also just being open to the goodness in life from your Lord. Okay, thank you, Hyder. Thank you very much.
At this point, I'd just like to invite Mark to share some personal experience with witnessing perfection, please, for 5 minutes. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. So in 2018, my wife Kelly was diagnosed with multiple myeloma, a cancer of the immune system. And because of that, overnight, our life had changed. And for these past 8 years, I've been her primary caregiver. During COVID, we lived with extraordinary caution. We rarely gathered indoors with others, and our world became much smaller. And at first, I struggled with that, and I felt like I was missing out on life. I had been very active in a lot of groups and in hosting events of different kinds. Then I read Shaykh Fadhlalla's book, Witnessing Perfection, and a passage struck me, which I'm going to read. Part of it says, "The journey of the serious seeker of truth begins by looking for meaning and purpose behind events, feelings, and experiences," just as we've heard just now. When all dualities and opposites are seen through this unified lens, all experiences and events in life will change in meaning and significance. And those words slowly started changing me, because I realized that anything I was feeling in terms of suffering or a loss of expansion wasn't coming from my circumstances. It was coming from the way I was dividing my life into opposites: freedom and restriction, and gain and loss, the life I wanted versus the life that I was now living. And as my perspective changed, something really unexpected happened, which was I fully realized that although my outer life had become smaller, my inner life actually became immeasurably larger. And over these past years, I discovered Sufism. I joined the Babu Muhyiddin Fellowship. I embraced Islam. I got to speak with Shaykh Fadhlalla and Aliya and meet all of you wonderful people. And that brought me here with you all today. So looking back, I can say that I don't see those years as of restriction as a loss, but actually as years of cultivation. Sometimes God does not change our circumstances. He changes the one who is living through them. And I realized I was significantly changed that way. And I prefer this kind of smaller outer life now, but much bigger inner life than I ever enjoyed or appreciated my life before. And I'm very grateful for that and for Shaykh Fadhlalla's writing. Thank you. Aliya, would you like me to play the short video of Shaykh Fadhlalla?
Yes, please.
Okay. Let's see here, share my screen.
Is that there is no such curable, definable, respectable person. There's no such thing. The law cannot in any way connect with matter, with earth, with space and time issues. It cannot connect unless through the mediation of something else. The Ruh is boundless, eternal. It's like a cosmic energy beyond even any radiation or anything can describe. So, for it to energize and activate an entity, a body, whether it's a chicken or a human, it needs that mediation of reduction in the light of the ruh. So it needs a shadow. So the nafs is the shadow of the ruh. So it is through the nafs that all of our problems begin and all of our problems end when you discover it's only a shadow of the real you. So by you having the illusion that the so-called you, nafs, is free to do anything, you have entered into a zone of self-destruct. This is not true. The nafs is only a shadow. Here you are given a different, if you like, illusion of existence. Legacy, look at this. Look at what I'm left here. Look at the name of the university, the name of the country is even after me. Boom, 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 boom. So it's not only I've misled myself, I've locked myself into that dungeon of darkness, of misleading. The nafs is there to make you suffer, to give you an understanding as to who is in charge, so as you follow that. If you don't do it, tough luck, you finish. If you do it, then you will never ever imagine that the nafs is free or can do anything. I don't want to suffer. So how can I do it? Who will tell me that this may lead to a disaster? Who will tell me that no, this will be a way of interacting for a while, and it's fine. No problem. It's earthly, but it's light, its reference, and its calibration is heavenly. That's so it is the worst illusion to have this thing that I can do anything. Go to America.
Mark,
somewhere you can do anything.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is the wrong clip.
Oh, I'm very sorry. One moment.
It's perfect, Mark, as it should be. Everything is perfect.
Yes. Maybe we needed to hear something there.
I'm delighted to hear anything from Shaykh Fadhlalla, so it's wonderful. Thank you.
Yes. Okay.
Can Hydra explain the breakout rooms?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think we should move on to that now. So basically, for the breakout groups, I think Mark is going to randomly divide people into groups. But then within the group, if you could quickly choose a facilitator who, in the groups that you will just be discussing what you've heard and trying to and share your understanding with it within the group. And a facilitator should then, at the end of the session, half an hour session, will be asked to just share some brief reflections, and if there are any questions arising to be put forward, they can be put forward by that facilitator. Is that fine, Dr. Khan?
Yes.
Yeah. So, Bismillah, Mark, if you could divide everybody into groups, including myself, just put me in one of the groups as well.
Yep, I'm almost done.
All right.
Someone named Shireen is here. Oh, they're all leaving their groups now.
Oh.
That's interesting.
Assalamu alaikum. Our group didn't know.
Salam. Allah. How are you, Sister Shireen?
Alhamdulillah. I actually wasn't meant to participate. I've not been well, but I'm sorry. I just wanted to say that we weren't sure how long we were allowed on this breakout room, so we decided to come back to the main room.
All right. Yeah,
we weren't given a time.
Yeah, we escaped the breakout room.
All right. Yeah, it's a half hour, and Hydra was a half 30 minutes.
Right.
And Hydra was meant to announce that.
I don't think he announced that.
Yeah.
Hydra didn't announce. Heather didn't announce the time.
No.
So
if you would, we got early release.
You got early release for good behavior.
You can let them out, and we can convene in the main group if everyone is. It's fine. We can do that and have questions if anyone wants clarity or answers, please.
I'll send a message to Hyder and let him know.
Sister Shireen, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, you've been so often in my thoughts.
Oh, I think because I've been out of it for a whole week. And
I'm so sorry.
No, thank you. I've just been absolutely absent from so many things in the last week. So I'm sorry. I couldn't miss this. I really didn't want to miss this, but I said I'm not going to be in a position I'm not feeling very clear-headed, I must tell you. And this is a difficult topic, but thank you. Thank you for your time, Mark and Sister Aliya. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
If you have any questions, because I thought of you very much when I spoke about the injustices and hardships and suffering, and how we can see through that and still feel the hurt and the desire to help heal and do what we can against injustice. I mean, all of that is all real, and you were very much in my thoughts.
Thank you. Yes, actually, this came up in our group. This was something that maybe you can address now.
Please do. Please raise that.
You said at the outset, when we observe a situation, is not to judge it, to be non-judgmental, to observe.
Well, that's the first step.
Yes. So my question is this. So let's use the example of Gaza.
Yes.
If you observe it, and you consider the fact that we're enjoined to speak out against any form of injustice we see.
Yes.
How do I observe a situation?
You observe it
with a desire to assist.
Correct.
With no judgment, because it's like I need to make a call because to identify the perpetrator and the victim.
Correct.
So there is some level of judgment.
And
of course it comes,
You judge with your ordinary seeing. So in Surah Al-Mulk it says, look, then look again. Do you see any fault? The first time we look, we see injustice, we see genocide, we see the terrible treatment of the Palestinians. And that's when we want to correct injustice, and we suffer and we hurt. But then we look again with the eye of tawhid, without judgment, and we realize before the Balfour Agreement in 1946 that set up the scenario that made this happen, and before the lack of good people standing up against AIPAC, for example, in America, that funds the country you're talking about, when you look at the coherence, the cause and effect of all of the steps leading up to what we call the Gaza today, we can see that it could not have happened other than the way it turned out, looking at the entire chain of the steps that led up to it. That is your freedom in witnessing the perfection. Then you come back to your life in this world, and you say, all right, now with that clarity, I see not only were the Israelis doing, not all of them, but those who perpetrated the horror, but also the good people did not have the power or did not speak up or did not act to stop it. So when we look at everything, it takes away that awful thing about oh, it's the Jewish people or the Israeli government or whatever we do. And with seeing the fact that we all of us, me included, complicit, either by silence, by not knowing what happened, or by standing by, whatever your role, that is your liberation. And from there, you then say, all right, what can I do to correct the injustice? Sister Shireen, seeing the imperfection causes us to act. We must do something to heal the pain, to heal the hardship. But seeing the perfection takes away the fact that it gives you the wider picture. It doesn't mean God liked it. That's a fallacy. But it shows that everything, the free will of what we did not do, what we did do, what they did not do, and so on, led to the realization that nothing other than what came down could have happened. Not that it was fatalistic, but looking at all the events that led up to it. And that is the freedom. Then you come back to your everyday life and say, all right, I'll give money, I'll adopt a baby, I'll give food. Then you do what you can. Does that help? Doesn't mean we don't have sleepless nights.
Yes, I'm trying to grasp this. I'm trying. And I think when we look at the situation of Gaza again, in our group, we discussed also the element of trust that's necessary. If we're told in the Quran that everything exists in perfection, there has to be an element of trust. So we say, I'm limited in my sight and my lack of insight, but I trust. And so I think if we look at the same example, we see what happened on social media after this flood of people taking Shahada all around the world. And
correct.
Then you kind of wonder, was this the plan? Was this the bigger plan? I don't know. I'm rambling. Let me stop.
No, but what you're saying is what many of us do actually see come out of it. If I read more history books, I would see the causal link without any doubt. I have not done that. I've read enough and I've heard enough from people like Edward Said and all the spokespeople about the Israeli Zionist movement and so on, that I have a good enough picture and enough knowledge to piece the steps together. But if I did not, I would just have to go through the history and see what led up to it. It doesn't mean I like it. It doesn't mean I agree with it. It just means that between the human being and the outer events that occurred, what we see today could not be other than what came down.
Yes, I understand. Thank you, Sister Ali. And I know perfection doesn't necessarily mean good.
Correct. Or beautiful. Yeah. But you can see the beauty in it when you see the divine hand behind it.
Correct. Okay, correct. Got it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Shireen, so much. Lots of love to you.
Thank you so much.
Allah.
everyone is back here in the main group now, to let you know.
Good, thank you, Mark. Can we request somebody from another group to share their groups' questions or anything?
You may call on someone.
I can do that. I can do that, inshallah.
Bismillah.
Some very interesting things were brought up, actually. First of all, Zubair said that he received an insight from the quote-unquote erroneous share by Shaykh Fadhlalla that answered a question that he'd had for a very long time. So he witnessed the perfection of that mistake. And he actually has a copy of the quote that he can read for us. We'll go back to that in a minute. But what I heard him say, that he heard Shaykh Fadhlalla say, was that the ruh needs the nafs in order to express itself in a chicken or a human being at a lower level. Otherwise, it would destroy the material form. And also that if you identify with the nafs and identify with the belief that you can do whatever you like, you set yourself on a path of self-destruction. So you can correct that, Zubair, if I've gotten anything wrong there. And then Wasima shared something very wonderful in terms of her understanding of the putting it down. So the point was that we cannot not judge. We cannot not have an opinion, as Aliya Khanam has said many times. However, the mechanism is to put it down, respond, judge, have an opinion, and then put it down, leave it. And she connected that to the ayah in the Quran that says, look and look again, from Surah Al-Mulk, which we found interesting. And she also mentioned the story of Sidna Musa and Khidr, which brings up, I think, a very important sort of nuance that, of course, Sidna Musa was given the gift by Khidr of an explanation of the things that he felt were incorrect in his judgment. But she mentioned that sometimes you don't have an explanation, and there's another shift that can happen of accepting that you don't know, but you do know that Allah's perfection is manifesting itself in whatever it is that happens. I thought that was useful. I don't know, Zubair, if you want to share the exact quote.
So this is from a question that was put to Sheikhna at Highwood in February 21 by Basit. So Sheikhna says, I am biased. I can't deny childhood imprints, etc. You can't deny your culture, upbringing, background, etc., but leave it. That is witnessing perfection. Witnessing perfection means to put down one's conditioned perspective, don't deny it, but then put it down and witness without preconceived notions. Imperfections because of seeing through the lens of conditioning. Transcending simply means you have a biased perspective, so you're not witnessing. And then Sheikhna refers to the ayah which we have sent you to witness, which I believe is a reference to the Prophet ﷺ, where we have sent you as a witnesser. And then Sheikhna finishes by saying, give warning, if you're not at that, you're in trouble with unhappiness and discontent.
Alhamdulillah. Can I ask Abdullah Habib, if I don't know who was appointed facilitator, but from your group?
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Yes, welcome, salam.
So in our group, we raise the question, we all want to witness perfection. But what is stopping us? Why don't we witness perfection at all time as we desire it? And the discussion led to, because we see things through the conditions, through our culture, through our memories, past histories, and so forth. So we never see a situation without that background history. And as a result, we fail to witness or to see the situation for what it is. And then this, so therefore, we suffer. And this brought another point, which means the conditioning is the source of suffering. And we say, is suffering not important? I mean, does suffering has value? And is it necessary? And our discussion led to, yes, suffering is necessary and it has value because it may serve as a signal to direct our attention to the ruh. The reason we are suffering is because we are misaligned with the ruh. And so therefore, if we look at the signal correctly, that suffering is an indication that to as a signpost to recalibrate our attention and hence to help us to witness perfection. That is the gist of our discussion. If I have missed any important point, please join in and share your viewpoint, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Abdullah.
Yes, I want to also thank that last contribution because the point that was made about long-term suffering leading to a breakthrough is absolutely correct. And the conditioning is very powerful, which will lead to that suffering. So everything that they discussed is so on point. And the contribution before that by Wasima about not knowing and yet knowing is so familiar to me. I think I've lived, I still do. And perhaps many of us do. We may not understand. So we say we don't know. But yet something inside, and we can use our metaphor, it's, the soul, it's our ruh that's saying, well, we will prevail even through your unknowing. And I thought that was very beautiful. So thank you both for those two contributions. Thank you.
Is there anybody else? Let me just see the list.
Excuse me, can I interrupt? I realized that there's something else Wasima said that was very powerful. She said that when she was in a situation where she was judging an event that happened to her from someone else and she felt that it was incorrect, blah, 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 because of the story of Khidr, she changed the way that she viewed the experience by saying, this is not, how did she say it now? This is not happening to me, this is happening for me. That this is Allah's plot for me. It's meant for me to evolve through this experience. I thought that was also very useful, Sean.
And very powerful.
If I may add something, please. When Auntie Shireen was done in, Aliya Khanum said that sometimes you can witness the beauty in that. And what came through for me was the story of Zainab radiallahu anha at Karbala, which we passed recently. And, when she stood in front of Yazid and she said, I saw nothing but beauty. And, it's not that she didn't feel that pain. She expressed truly what was there and she handed it over, but she said nothing but beauty. And I think, Auntie Shireen, that might help us to see, what we see in the world right now beyond that visible seeing.
Yeah, thank you so much. That really is beautiful. And it calls for experience. And it doesn't mean we all have to hit rock bottom, Some of us do. I know the feeling, but when we really open up to our vulnerability, then we come to that place where we know without maybe understanding. It's so real, the presence, that there is always divine presence in our life. And we don't know how or where or what form, if anything. But you know it in your deepest heart that it's real, it's true. So thank you about saying it was for me, not to me. That's precisely the attitude, why we're here. Just sharing.
Is there anybody from any of the other groups who wants to share now?
I can share.
Thank you, Shabnam.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you so much, Aliya, Khanum, and Haida. It's lovely. I mean, there's so much that came out of this group. Let me try and summarize. But I think, I don't know, I think the overall theme was about like how these shifts in consciousness come about, that, like where you can begin to see with the eye of the heart. And in our group, Salim mentioned about Kidha and Musa as well, and that earlier when you were speaking about how some enlightened beings can witness the meaning in the form in the moment, and his question was, how does one reach those levels? So that was a question no one answered, but we went on as well, and then Sabiha spoke, and I could hear, and I think everybody could hear the certainty of Iman that was emerging from her experience when she sort of said that, that perception doesn't need to show up immediately, which is, I think, what came up in the other groups, and how, the disastrous event or the difficult event revealed an opening of something, and also strengthened her Iman. And she said this really lovely phrase about awakening is unfolding. And she also noted about how her children seem to and children in general seem to be more in contact with that witnessing. And she gave some examples of how they do that, like get over their disappointment and sort of see the perfection behind it. And then Shams sort of vibed off of that, and she said, also about your being role models to them. But as you witness them witnessing and we witness them witnessing, it creates a bigger, purer circle of witnessing. And I thought that sounded so nice. And Shams also spoke about how, consciousness, she spoke about the play of life and about how we can be conned into believing like the spider's web. And she said maybe we need to focus on the con in consciousness and the roles that we play and how do we want to move in the script, and how she said something really interesting, how people in more of a shadow place might witness us as enlightened beings, that kind of like a relative place to the shadow. And she also spoke about genocide, but bringing it closer to home, like with individual disease, and talking about dis-ease and what does that show and what's the responsibility around that. And I got a bit disturbed by that, and I was sort of saying, but sometimes people end up self-blaming, and she kind of corrected that and said it's not about self-blame, but seeing one's part in that. And then what else? I spoke about how I was really desperate to go on a holiday and very, very stressed, and how the duality of the stress beforehand and the beauty of the holiday in every single moment just melted me, so that it really did feel so easy and so sweet compared to the other side. And so it was that duality that was a reminder as well of the beauty and the majesty that I could see with my eyes. But I needed both to know the other side. And, yeah. And actually, I met this beautiful lady who just came across to me at random and said, I just really see peace in you, and I don't know what it is, something in your heart. And it was such a shock, because I had been in such a state beforehand. But actually in that moment, she saw, beauty and truth. And then she gave me this ikebana, which is really about meaning in form. And it was these 3 beautiful stalks, a long one, a medium one, and a shorter one. And she said the top one is God, and the middle one is the universe, and the bottom one is the human. And I just wanted to give these to you because you've given me so much confidence. And she was having breast cancer surgery. What else? I think Shams there were so many beautiful things that you said, Shams, about our bodies flowing and the disease being a block to that flow. And what else? Trying to capture everything. I think that's all I can manage. I don't know if anybody from my group wants to add. I know I've missed a lot.
Thank you, Shabnam. That's quite a lot. Does Batul Khanum want to say anything?
Karen, please hear the last group. Let's carry on, please. This is good.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah, thank you, Shabna. I think there's one group left. I'm not sure who's in that group. Can somebody from that group?
I think there were only 4 groups, and I think
is that done now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you everybody for sharing those wonderful discussions. Batul Khanum, do you want to say some final words?
No, the only thing I would add is Shabnam had mentioned something about seeing both with the eye of meaning and the outer form, and we can talk about that next week when we meet. And we look forward to everybody coming back. Good. Thank you.
Well, thank you everybody for attending. Thank you especially Batul Khanum for sharing what you shared with us. I think we're going to conclude, and we look forward to next Wednesday's session. So I'm just going to conclude with some Quran. Is that okay with Khanum?
Perhaps Mark has some suggestion how some of the people might continue communicating. If they
just take me a moment. Thank you.
There's a hand up on the screen.
A hand up as well. Yeah.
Hi there, Mark. It's Dale here.
Oh, Dale.
Thank you for sharing everything about your journey. I just wanted to ask how your wife is doing. I hope she's okay.
Thank you so much. Yes, she's doing better each day. Thank you. She went through very, very difficult years, and she's doing better now. Even though the cancer is still there, somehow she's doing much better. Mashallah. Thank you. I wanted to say very quickly that we know the breakout group was short, and that as a suggestion that those in your groups may want to create their own chat group or something to get together between now and next week, if you'd like, or anybody in this group, to keep continuing discussion further on your own and have more or more focused or different sets of questions for next week as well, that to please, take it amongst yourselves to reach out to each other in the group where you saw this posting, and see about getting together with one or two or more of the colleagues here. So that is all. Haider, please.
Also, if you want to post any comments or questions on our group, you're also welcome to do that. And inshallah, they'll be sifted through and collected and, inshallah. But as I said, yes, if you want to have deeper private discussions with a few people, please, we'd like to encourage that if you can do that as well. Bismillah. I think, Butlu Khanum, is it okay to conclude now?
Yes, please. It was wonderful. Thank everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر ليلة القدر خير من ألف شهر تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم سلاما هي حتى مطلع الفجر سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, everyone.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone, especially Aliya Khanum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, Roxana.
Allah.
Nobody wants to.
Assalamu alaikum, Aliya Khanum.
Allah, salam. Hope to see you all next time. Allah, mashkan. Allah.